Our conversation this morning with the ladies from the League of Women Voters is brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Let's punch the buttons and get them on the air with us. Kay Smith is here, Cindy Rogers too. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning, Todd.
It's good to have you both with us. Kay, let's start with you. What's on the docket as we get closer and closer to Election Day?
Oh, it's getting exciting, and other things too. But thanks once again for the privilege of being on your show, Todd.
My pleasure.
Our theme for today is from advocating to preparing to vote. That being said, we met with Robin Marriott, Chief Clerk, and Deborah Streams, Director of Voter Registration, their offices which are located in the Indiana County Courthouse, to be sure that we were up to date on the information to assure and prepare you as you vote in person or choose to do mail-in voting.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to share with you about the option of voting in person. Across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and in our county, election officials are working extremely hard to ensure that all precautions to protect you and the poll workers are to the highest standards. All polling locations have plexiglass shields installed between you and the poll workers. Voting booths are also distanced. You'll be given a voting kit, which will contain sanitizer, a pencil, and a mask. The kits are provided for each voter. Me, I'm a people person. Thus, I'm moved by the community spirit of voting together on Election Day. Just seeing my friends and neighbors at the polls, albeit with a mask, is a stirring reinforcement of democracy itself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk about mail-in balloting a little bit. It is a convenient voting option, but to everybody that's registered. So one of the things you need to do is check your registration right now to make sure it's current. And you can check that online at votespa.com. That's VOTESPA.com.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll need your driver's license or your PEN.ID number to do that. Or you can call the county election office at the courthouse. Either way. So there's some things to know. Apply for your mail-in ballot now if you want to do that on the website or call the office. There's an online form you can fill out. If you do not receive your ballot by early October, you should be expecting it early October, check your status or call the office.
Mm-hmm.
So just a couple other things I want to make sure you know, that when you complete your ballot, it comes with 2 envelopes. The security envelope is where you put your ballot. Make sure you write your signature and the date you're mailing the ballot, not your birth date. They told us that was one of the biggest problems, and that would make your ballot not acceptable. So make sure you put the date you're mailing the ballot, not your birth date.
Mm-hmm.
And then that security envelope stays sealed until they're counted. And also make sure your signature matches the one on your voter registration, because it will be checked. It's another safety measure. So don't wait until the final dates. As soon as you get your ballot, turn it around, fill it out, and get it back in.
Yeah, it's pretty important for folks to understand that each state sets its own election procedures, and that includes mail-in ballots. Some are just sending them to every voter. Some are doing a much more secure system like Pennsylvania seems to have lined up.
Right. And there are a lot of safety things in place, and I'll talk about them in a second. But so the voter can mail in their ballot. They can drop it off at the courthouse. There's a lockbox that's going to be in the courthouse, or they can hand deliver it to the office between 8 and 4. And you have to know that nobody can deliver somebody else's ballot.
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth option is actually taking it to the polling place on Election Day. And in that case, you have to turn it in, and then you can vote regularly.
Yeah.
The mail-in ballots are a safe procedure. They've actually been used for many years by several different states, so it's nothing new. Pennsylvania has recently adopted it, but other states have been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, and there's a difference between... I'm sorry, Cindy. There is a difference between a mail-in ballot and an absentee ballot, and I think people need to understand that distinction as well.
Mail-in ballots, you don't have to have an excuse. An absentee ballot, you have to have a reason for doing it, but they're both processed the same way.
Yeah.
And the one really important thing to remember is that they all have a barcode for each voter, and that barcode can be tracked by both you and the county officials. And that is a security against any counterfeit or duplicate ballots. It's not going to happen. At least they tell us that's not going to happen in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
There's no proof that mail-in ballots favors one party or another, but it does increase voter turnout. And there's no real evidence of overall fraud. You can apply for them, confirm your application, and when it was received and when your vote was counted at pavoterservices.pa.gov.
Mm-hmm.
So those are all important things to know and to feel a little bit better about mail-in ballots, because there are a lot of safety factors in place. And Indiana County also told us that they hired additional staff to help process mail-in ballots, and they expect to have plenty of people to man the polls.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Kay, back to you.
One more thing, Todd.
Oh, okay. One more thing from Cindy.
Yeah, I got a voter registration application in the mail the other day, and I've been asked about that. But don't get confused, because there are third parties that are sending out applications, and that tends to make people think that there's fraud or there's something fishy going on. But if you know you're registered and you've requested your ballot and got it, just ignore those other mailings because they're not official.
Mm-hmm. All right, yeah.
So back to Kay.
There are some folks out there who actually want to confuse you about voting, but it's pretty safe. Kay, back to you.
And I just want to reiterate the final date before election, that the PA voters can register to vote, which is October the 19th, 2020, and then apply for mail-in ballots before October 27th, 2020, and then vote in person, of course, on November the 3rd, before 8 p.m. And if you're voting by mail-in ballots, they must be received at the Indiana County Election Office before 8 p.m. November 3rd, 2020.
Yeah.
And that is why we are strongly encouraging all people that are mailing in to send the ballots early or as soon as possible, while making sure that all steps, as Cindy said, are correct in filling out their ballots.
Mm-hmm.
A mail-in ballot can also be hand-delivered to the election office or deposited in the secure drop box past security in the Indiana County Courthouse building before 8 p.m. on November 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have any questions, what I would encourage you to do is contact Robin Marriott, who's chief clerk, or Deborah Streams, director of voting registration at the courthouse. But my final thing is, Todd, is let's all advocate and prepare to vote as we exercise the privilege to vote, thus ensuring that our democracy continues to thrive. Because voting is a privilege, as I say. I've been to many foreign countries where they don't have that, or they're really voting rights are suppressed, and it just makes me cry.
Yeah.
And so I really encourage people to exercise that privilege.
Yeah, and we need to be clear as well that votes cannot be counted by the County Election Bureau until Election Day. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. They're not allowed to even open the envelope until that day.
At this point, but things change often. But and those things we'll know those if they change by law.
Yeah, we'll have it on the news.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes, you will.
Ladies, it is a very important privilege that we have in America to vote. I know that you are well aware of that. That's why you're in the Indiana County League of Women Voters. But now people have the information they need to move forward in this. Thanks for being with us this morning. I appreciate it again.
And thank you
Todd.
again, Todd.
Right.
I appreciate the privilege of being on your show. And Cindy does too. Thanks.
All right. You both have a great weekend, okay?
Thank you.
Yep,
You
thanks.
too.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, there you go. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. AM